Bruce Lee's favorite martial artist of all time was Chuck Norris. I
Oh, okay.
trained with him way more, but he loved Chuck because Chuck is calm. He never says, I beat somebody up. In fact, he gave me a really good lesson where he said, don't talk about yourself. I don't do that. Let other people talk about you.
Wow.
If you're bragging, you know, well, first of all, 90% of people won't believe you're bragging.
Yep.
But if you don't say a word, you don't tell people how tough you are, others will tell it, and you'll become 10 times as tough because you'll have beat up 10 guys when you beat up 2. So Chuck Norris is a good example. But anyway, Bruce loved Chuck. And so I was his first and only pick. When he called us, we were at our Torrance school. We had a lot of schools. And Chuck got off the phone. He says, I'm going to Rome and Hong Kong. I'm going to be in a movie with Bruce. I said, well, pal, we're 50-50 partners in the school. You're not going by yourself. I'm going with you. So I paid my own way. Okay. Now on the plane, of course, we went coach because the entire budget for Way of the Dragon was $250. And so Arnold says to me, well, we're way back in coach, of course. And he says, hey, listen, Bruce asked me, he said, he can't afford the setup. So he's going to film me when I get off the plane. So if you watch Way of the Dragon and see Chuck Norris walk off the plane. Thank you very much. Okay. So anyway, but he didn't have the chutzpah. So he asked me if I would do it. So I go up to first class, which they don't want coach up in first class nowadays. But I go up there and I asked the flight attendant, I said, listen, we're doing a movie and we're going to film us, Mr. Norris, when we come off the plane. And is it okay if I just stand here and ask the first class people to wait 30 seconds? That's all it would take. She said, okay. So I'm at the front. I said, excuse me, would you mind just waiting? We're filming. And so, of course, you hear that. And most people are nice about it. And Carlos walks out and he goes, that was us getting off the plane. Okay. So we get off the plane and Bruce says, you're here. Okay, you're in the movie. There was no script for Way of the Dragon. It was all in Bruce's head. There was no script at all. He'd go out and try to find a Way of the Dragon script.
That's like the Hong Kong way, right?
You're in.
It's like they don't have a script. It's like the
Kong.
Hong Kong way. Like, now it's a kick. Now it's a kick. Now it's a punch. Now it's a punch. It's like, how was the fight choreographies? I mean, did he in any way let you have any sort of feedback on the fight choreography, or was it all done, his way?
No, we discussed, well, a Bruce Lee movie is a Bruce Lee movie. At the end of the day, he's the judge, and he made the decision. But yes, he always asked Carlos and I, what do you think? I got many pictures, and one is I had him autograph of us in the Coliseum discussing Chuck's fight scene, which is considered one of the best, And
to
but
me,
anyway,
it is, yeah. To me, for sure, it's amazing. Yeah,
he asked for input, but at the end of the day, it was Bruce's decision, and Bruce created all the fight scenes with stickmen. He was quite a talented artist as well. But at any rate, he said, "Okay, you're in the movie, $75 a week." I got room and board, my food and everything. And then he wanted to film in the Coliseum. That was his dream. And it was closed. Couldn't get in. My wife's Sicilian. So I have a few connections, made a call. Some Sicilians came to the hotel and they wanted a big bunch of money and Bruce couldn't afford it. And so they left. So I walked down and I said, hey, my wife is Uncle Jack DeSimone. He ran Michigan in those days. And is there any way you could help out? I mean, this is my friend. He just doesn't have the budget. And I talked him down to a much smaller amount for cash. Ran back up, told Bruce. We ran down, raced to the bank, and got the cash, and we got in the Coliseum.
Wow, nice.
Bruce was a perfectionist, so you'd do a scene perfect 5 times, but he wanted it low. He wanted the camera here. In fact, I remember in the Coliseum, because it was, to us, we were like mind-blowing, and nobody had been in there for years, but it goes down floor after floor after floor. And you could realize how little the people were. I mean, the cells were like 4 feet high.
Yeah.
And no way we could stand up in it. And but anyway, I was sitting there reading a book one day, and Bruce walks up and he says, "What are you doing?" Reading a book. Why? Well, I'm not in the scene. You should be behind a camera. You should be saying if it's a hit. And blah, blah, blah. So I didn't know I could go near a camera. I'd never been in a movie, right? I never read a book again. I was behind the camera saying, no, that was a miss. That was a hit. So yes, he always did pickup shots. He wanted lots of cover. He wanted lots of angles because Bruce edited every scene in the last three movies he made. He had no say so in the first two movies, which is what caused his big argument with Louis.
There's a great story of Bruce Lee saying goodbye to you on the Way of the Dragon set as well, or not on the Way of
Yes.
the Dragon. Something about the airport.
Well, yeah, when we finished, Chuck, they finished his fight scenes first, and I had to stay an extra couple of weeks to do my fight scenes out in Kowloon. And Bruce and I we both wore contacts, and we're filming in the dirt. And so we were getting dirt in our eyes. And so Bruce had this eye wash called Darlin. And so that's the
Yeah.
only thing that got us through. Later I got smart and just took them out. I haven't worn contacts for years now,
Oh, really? Yeah.
but at any rate, so he always picked me up and he always took me to the airport. Well, this time he says, Bob, I'm really sorry. I got to do this and that. And he was always running around like a rat because he was the star, the director, the stunt coordinator, the producer, and everything else. He said, I just can't take you to the airport. I'm going to have the car take you. And I said, sure, no problem. So I go there. And I always go early to the airport, and I get there, and I'm already sitting in a secure area. And all of a sudden, I see what looks like thousands of people come flooding into the airport. I go, what is this? I look up, it's Bruce Lee at the
Wow.
head of of course, he walks through security. I mean, he was like God. So he walks in, he's got a whole box of Darlin for me. And
Oh.
so, that was just the kindness and the generosity of Bruce Lee. I mean, just a little tip of show you what a fabulous
Uh-huh.
man he was.